Hi, this is R-Gonax and we talk about things that don't matter. Hey Internet Wanderer. The early days of a MOBA is a very special time, and in my opinion it is the best time for everyone to play, whether you're a seasoned MOBA player veteran or someone who's never played a MOBA in their lives. And the main reason is thus: no one knows how to play, and there's no meta in the game yet. Valve's new game Deadlock is very much in this phase right now. MOBAs are a genre of games that are known for their insane complexity, and in general, MOBAs are seen as one of the staples and one of the pillars of competitive gaming. So naturally, any type of game that is considered that hard and difficult naturally is a very complex game with a lot of things to keep track of. MOBAs typically have a reputation of being very hard to get into. The learning curve is very steep in these types of games. So whenever a MOBA is in its early phases, in its early days, that means everyone is still collectively trying to figure out how the game is being played. And whenever people are trying to figure things out, that also leads to things such as maximum tomfoolery, because nobody knows what they're doing. People are just generally just trying to goof off and just try to figure out what works. In a game genre where typically there are countless builds that different characters can do, but people will typically just stick to a handful of tried and true builds and guides and strategies. But whenever a game is in its early phases like this one, all builds are equally worthy and equally bad as well. Sure, there are some builds that might suit your chosen hero in Deadlock a little better than others, but hey, everyone is really new to the game and I doubt anyone's gonna call you out on it. The gameplay strategy isn't optimized yet. I cannot begin to even count the amount of times I've played in games where people don't even realize that there are certain objectives on the game or there are certain mechanics that they just didn't know about. MOBAs are insanely complex, and right now with Deadlock, I won't lie, the matchmaking is a little whack right now, and it can result in some amazing games where you stomp the enemy teams and others where you get destroyed. But nevertheless, the vast majority of people playing Deadlock right now are still learning this super complex game. And it's that feeling of this communal learning, or suffering depending, that makes a young MOBA like Deadlock super fun and satisfying to play and to learn more about. Hi Internet Wanderer, my name's R-Gonax. I make video reviews, essays, commentaries, and shorts. I hope you enjoy my content enough to do the YouTube things. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. My main MOBA has been Dota, which I've been playing for more than 10 years now. I used to play it back in the day when it was still a Warcraft 3 mod, and the MOBA genre itself was still on the rise. I was taught by my friends on how to play it, and then soon after, I started teaching other friends who have never played it before how to play Dota, and by extension, the MOBA genre itself. Some of them hated it, but some of them loved it, and the ones who loved it and the ones who stuck around quickly got addicted to the rewarding nature of learning how to play these games. What the different heroes do, what do certain item builds do, what makes other characters strong and what are their weaknesses, how the map plays and different strategies that you can go going around it, etc. And in those days, and even now, knowledge is your best friend. Knowing a certain tech or strategy that the enemies don't can be used so well to beat them. As an example, back in the day, there's a Dota 2 hero called Nyx Assassin. His third spell is called Spiked Carapace. Essentially, you're gonna block one instance of damage and reflect it completely back to whoever hit you. If they hit you with like a single tick of poison damage, it's just gonna reflect that single tick. But if they hit you with a very powerful spell, all that damage is going to go back to whoever hit you. I would take Nyx Assassin down mid lane, and back in the day, one of the most popular mid laners was the Dota hero, Sniper. Sniper's ultimate is called Assassinate. He basically loads up a big fuck off bullet into his gun and shoots you. The problem is, you can tell when he's aiming at you, as the player is warned that Sniper currently has his sights on you. The amount of times that I would bait out Sniper players into assassinating me, only to then return that damage back to them and then kill them in return, it's one of the most satisfying things in my entire MOBA career. Unfortunately, something like that isn't gonna work anymore. I'm not saying that I'm some pro Dota player who all of my opponents know the in and outs of the game, but it's just that everyone who plays Dota are people who have been playing it for years, maybe even decades, and they're not gonna get fooled by such simple tricks. And therein lies the beauty of Deadlock, because Deadlock is still very much in this phase. There are strategies and builds in this game that are extremely oppressive. Technically, there are ways to counter them, but people just either don't know what these counters are, or they're just too hard-headed to even try to do these counters. For all you people fighting double bomb bebops in your games, debuff remover, ethereal shift, unstoppable, magic resistance, or, just don't get caught by him. It's really not that hard. Going back to Dota 2, there's a lot of early Dota clips that I can remember that were so memorable because they were just dumb and wacky, for lack of a better word. They were techniques and strategies back then that would never ever work in today's Dota. A lot of them were done as jokes, but a lot of them were also perfectly legitimate, and they would work all the time back then because people were not as knowledgeable as they once were, so people could get away with doing silly builds like this.
Truth compels me.
Oh my god, that's the funky shit!
Blink dagger? Really?
Not so much anymore, because Dota is a game that's been around for many, many years now, and people have figured this stuff out. Even someone playing Dota for the first time can understand these things relatively quick, as everything has been more or less figured out. I'm sure that other MOBAs like League of Legends and Smite in the early days had their fair share of funny gimmicks and such, but I didn't play them back in the day. I do have friends who do come from Smite and Paragon and League of Legends, and they all agree that Deadlock has this almost magical sense of whimsy, the glee of discovering new gameplay strategies and playstyles. I remember the super surprised reaction of all of my friends when I told them about the ability to wall jump in this game. They had been playing for like a couple of weeks, some of them for months, and they never knew about this simple gameplay mechanic, and that opened up an entire new door of possibilities for various characters. Even as something as simple as the parry mechanic in Deadlock. Everyone who got their first successful parry in the game all collectively yelled out loud with gleeful excitement, saying, "Oh my god, I just got a parry, holy shit!" It's a rush of dopamine that's just really wholesome in a weird kind of way, if you understand my meaning. I've taught a lot of friends and even a lot of strangers how to get into the MOBA genre in the past. And of the ones that actually stayed and actually gave it a try, seeing someone in Dota learn a new mechanic that I've taken for granted, but things that they would learn as they play the game. Like, for example, one person I was teaching Dota, I told him you can buy items from the enemy shop, and it just blew his mind. And it's those little moments of players going, "Oh crap, I didn't know about that." That's the best way I can encapsulate this whole point of this video. Those are the moments that in a MOBA, as a player, you only get to experience once. And all of us are collectively experiencing these things again. Because again, it doesn't matter what MOBA you came from, Dota, League, Smite, Paragon. If you played those MOBAs, typically those MOBAs would have been your first. So back then, you had to balance the joy of discovery with the anguish of learning how to play a MOBA in the first place. But now, everyone who had played those MOBAs are pretty much veterans of the genre, and now in Deadlock, we all kinda know what we need to do. We understand the concept of lanes, creep equilibrium, the macro game sense, what objectives on the map need to be taken. etc. So for veteran MOBA players, all that's really left for us is just to enjoy what the game has to offer. But if you've never played a MOBA before, that's okay. Deadlock still masterfully meshes the hero shooters genre and the arena shooter elements just enough to make the MOBA aspects a lot more digestible. I have quite a few friends who have never played a MOBA in their lives before get absolutely hooked into Deadlock. And unfortunately, all these experiences that we are seeing happen now, these joyful moments, unfortunately they are somewhat time limited. Because again, as the game goes on, people figure things out. Then suddenly, before you know it, Deadlock has a ranked mode. It has party queuing. It has super serious tutorials and whatnot. Then the game at that point had lost its whimsy, its tomfoolery. And while a lot of people will probably enjoy that aspect, to see the game finally mature into the competitive game it was always gonna be, and I do believe that Deadlock is gonna be a huge esport in the future, I'm also happy that me, and maybe even you, are experiencing Deadlock in this prototype phase, in this alpha test, in this play test. Because once the meta gets figured out, people will just start hyper-optimizing, and the tryhards are gonna come out, and they're gonna try to win, and flame, and feed, and the typical MOBA-isms. But until that point, I'm just gonna enjoy what Deadlock has to offer as a young MOBA. And I hope you in the audience are experiencing that as well. Sorry if this video was a bit rambly. I wanted to see how well I could do this video without a solid script to work on, so this is a lot more ranty than usual. I got a big video coming up pretty soon, and I hope you stay tuned for that. Subscribe. Anyway, thanks for watching. Do the YouTube things.